Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time, we started digging into Daniel Kahneman's amazing work, Thinking Fast and Slow. We talked about, the two systems running our minds.
Right. System one, the fast, intuitive one, and system two, the slower, more analytical one.
Exactly. And today, well, we're going even deeper because we're looking at some of the hidden traps our own thinking sets for us, predictable traps.
Absolutely. This is part two, and we're really unpacking cognitive biases.
Mhm.
These are, systematic errors, predictable errors in how we judge things.
And they come from that interplay, right, between the fast system one and the slower system two.
Precisely. And we'll explore how these biases shape pretty much everything. Our daily choices, big business strategies.
Oh.
Yeah, drawing on Kahneman, but also some other really key sources. We're looking at how we think and sometimes the surprising reasons behind our decisions.
Okay, so our mission today, for you listening, is to give you the tools, the knowledge to spot these biases, to really understand how much they impact things like financial markets, planning, even marketing and negotiations. Get ready, because this is where you might start seeing the, let's say, hidden flaws in your own decision-making. It gets really interesting here. This is about gaining clarity, gaining an edge, really. So, okay, let's start with something fundamental. We often think we're pretty rational, right? Especially with numbers. But Kahneman really threw a wrench in that idea, didn't he?
He absolutely did.
Yeah.
Yeah, his research fundamentally challenges this whole idea that we're naturally good intuitive statisticians.
Intuitive statisticians, I like that.
I mean, think about it. We grasp grammar effortlessly, right? That's system one doing its thing perfectly.
Sure.
But when it comes to probability or, judging statistical reliability, our intuition often falls short, surprisingly short.
It's not about smarts, then.
No, not at all. It's about how system one is wired. It's built for speed, for recognizing patterns quickly, not for the slow, careful work that statistics needs. So, faced with uncertainty, our gut feelings can lead us astray.
That's quite humbling, actually, especially if you take pride in being logical. And Kahneman and his colleague, Amos Tversky, they found something really specific, didn't they, about researchers?
They did. And this is striking. Even really sophisticated researchers, people who lived and breathed statistics, they hadn't developed an intuitive sense for how reliable small samples are. They were just too quick to believe findings based on, not enough evidence.
So even the experts were falling for it, drawing big conclusions from small data sets.
Exactly. It's a huge insight. Expertise doesn't automatically grant immunity here.
Wow.
Yeah, Kahneman called it theory-induced blindness. It meant these experts, they often didn't collect enough data in their own studies.
Because they already believed their theory.
Sort of, yeah. Their subjective judgment was biased. They expected certain results, so they were maybe too quick to see them in limited data. They published findings based on what was, frankly, flimsy evidence statistically. It just shows how deep these intuitive shortcomings run, even in science. So it begs the question, right? If the experts struggle with this.
What about the rest of us?
Exactly.
Yeah.
In our everyday lives, in business, relying purely on gut feelings when probability is involved, it can be seriously misleading, predictably so. We tend to see what we expect, not necessarily what the numbers are showing.
Okay, let's dive into one of the biggest biases they identified, loss aversion. This idea that losing hurts more than winning feels good.
Oh, absolutely. Loss aversion is huge. It's not just a little quirk. It's like a fundamental driver of human behavior.
And they showed this with an experiment, right? A gamble.
Yeah, a really simple but powerful one. They'd offer people a gamble, say a 50% chance to win $150 and a 50% chance to lose $100.
Okay, so mathematically that's a good bet. The expected value is positive $25.
Right. Logically, you should take it.
Yeah.
Over time, you'd come out ahead.
Yeah.
But what happened?
How much people said no?
Exactly. Most people instinctively reject it. It's not just being careful with money. It's a deep emotional reaction. That possibility of losing the $100 just looms larger, feels more potent than the chance of winning $150.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Your rational brain, system 2, can do the math and say, go for it. But your gut, your system 1, just screams danger, risk, and that feeling often wins out. It shows how powerful that subconscious system 1 pull is.
Totally. And to get people to actually accept that kind of gamble, Kahneman and Tversky found the potential win had to be much bigger.
How much bigger?
Well, in their studies, to balance out the pain of possibly losing $100, the win needed to be around $250.
Wow, 2.5 times.
Yeah. which led them to that famous conclusion. A dollar lost feels about 2.5 times as bad psychologically as a dollar gained feels good. And this isn't just academic. It's crucial for understanding why people do what they do. In finance, obviously, but everywhere. It's not about your total wealth. It's that feeling of loss. It can be incredibly painful, even for wealthy people who wouldn't objectively miss the money. The psychological hit is way bigger than the financial one.
So, okay, let's connect that to the world of money. If losing feels 2.5 times worse,
Right.
what does that do to investors? A random walk down Wall Street really points this out, right?
More definitely.
How this huge aversion to loss makes investors make really expensive mistakes. Like, someone with $1 million might barely notice a $100 dip objectively.
Right.
But the feeling of that loss can cause massive anxiety. It drives irrational behavior, like holding on to losing stocks way too long, hoping they'll bounce back.
Oh, selling winners too soon because you're scared they'll drop. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's exactly where that classic investment advice comes in, like from the intelligent investor. It stresses having a, quote, sound intellectual framework for making decisions.
Right.
And the ability to keep emotions from corroding that framework.
Yeah.
It's not about being a genius stock picker. It's about having the emotional discipline.
Emotional discipline. I like that.
Yeah. To, as the book says, profit from folly rather than participate in it. And that folly, often driven by loss aversion. True investing success is more about mastering your own mind, your own emotions, than mastering the market. Sticking to your plan when fear is screaming at you.
And this emotional discipline, it connects to practical advice, too, like for retirement planning. You mentioned a random walk down Wall Street and the 4% rule.
Exactly. That 4% takeout rate advice. It's smart for preserving purchasing power, letting withdrawals grow with inflation. But there's a deeper wisdom there.
Which is?
It's implicitly about building in enough cushion to ride out the inevitable bad years in the market, the bear markets.
Ah, right. Because if you're living off your savings, watching them drop feels terrifying.
Precisely. And loss aversion kicks in hard. It can make retirees panic and sell everything during a downturn, locking in those losses at the worst possible time.
When they should really be holding on or even buying more for the long haul.
Right. So that 4% rule, assuming reasonable inflation and returns, lets the nest egg still grow a bit in real terms. It maintains purchasing power, but crucially, it provides a psychological buffer. That cushion helps manage the fear, the pain of seeing temporary losses. It buys peace of mind.
Okay, so loss aversion hits personal finance hard. What about business decisions? Does it show up there, too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes in less obvious ways. Think about the trading floor described in Liar's Poker.
Okay.
It gives that stark quote, "A desperate seller is in a weak position. He's less concerned about how much he is paid than when he is paid."
Ooh,
Ruthless.
totally. But it shows loss aversion in action. Someone desperate may be facing bigger losses if they don't sell, or needing cash now becomes irrational. The intense pain of potential future loss or the immediate pressure, it just overrides getting the best price.
And the traders exploit that, ruthlessly. They know someone terrified of more loss will likely take a lower offer just to stop the bleeding, you know?
Yeah.
It's about minimizing the feeling of loss, not maximizing value.
Wow. Okay, here's a different kind of example, more strategic. Starbucks. Remember and pour your heart into it. They chose not to sell their whole beans in supermarkets.
Right, even though it meant missing out on huge potential sales volume, double or triple maybe.
Yeah. And their reason was to keep that clear distinction from, regular grocery store coffee,
Yeah.
to protect the brand image.
Exactly. You could definitely see that as a form of loss aversion. They were protecting the perceived value, the premium feel, the exclusivity of the Starbucks brand.
Even though it cost them sales.
Right. The potential loss of brand prestige or becoming just another coffee brand outweighed the potential gain in volume. It shows how deeply that feeling, that value perception, can drive major strategic choices. Brand integrity over immediate market share.
That makes sense. And then think about overcoming other people's loss aversion, like Elon Musk in 2008.
Oh, yeah. Tough times.
Trying to get funding for Tesla during the absolute worst financial crisis. Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the quest for a fantastic future paints that picture vividly.
He needed tens of millions more dollars for this electric car company that was way over budget, burning cash.
In a recession, when nobody was buying cars, let alone expensive electric ones.
And Musk himself said, try to imagine explaining you're investing in an electric car company and everything you read sounds like it is shit and doomed.
Yeah.
It just highlights the enormous effort needed to push against that massive wave of fear. Investor loss aversion was through the roof then. Everyone was focused on not losing more.
So he had to sell a vision so compelling it outweighed that intense fear of loss.
Exactly. An extraordinary feat of persuasion against a backdrop of pure financial pain.
Okay, let's switch gears to another big one, the availability heuristic. This is about how easily things come to mind affecting our judgment, right?
Exactly. The availability heuristic is our system one's tendency to judge how likely or frequent something is based purely on how easily we can recall examples.
So if it's easy to remember, we think it's more common.
Pretty much.
Mm.
If something is vivid or recent or emotionally charged or just, easy to bring to mind, we overestimate its probability. Our intuitive system one loves these mental shortcuts. It prefers a good story, an easy image, over digging through complex data.
It's efficient but flawed.
Right. It's an efficiency mechanism, but it leads to predictable errors.
And Kahneman points out that vividness, specifically, can make us overweight rare events. We focus on avoiding them disproportionately.
Yeah. Our system one does that superficial processing. Easily accessed images or stories, maybe from the news, or something that happened to a friend, they just override the statistics.
Like the classic example, fearing flying more than driving.
Exactly. A dramatic plane crash story is incredibly vivid and available in our memory. So it inflates our perception of the risk, even though statistically, driving is far more dangerous. The easily recalled image beats the data. And you see this in experiments, too. Ask people the probability of, say, the temperature in Bangkok hitting 100 degrees tomorrow. Unless you're a meteorologist there.
You just go with gut feeling. What comes to mind?
Right. General impressions, maybe recent news about heat waves, stereotypes about Thailand. All readily available, but maybe not accurate, can lead to overestimation.
And that urn experiment, where the framing mattered more than the actual number.
Yeah, the two urns experiment. A lower mortality rate was judged as more dangerous than a higher one, simply because the description of the lower rates scenario was framed in a more vivid, easily imagined way.
Wow.
When people don't know much about a topic, their judgments can be really skewed by how available or memorable the information is presented. It makes you wonder, right? How many decisions do we make based on what's most memorable, not what's most likely?
That's a scary thought, especially when it comes to risk assessment. And this links directly to the black swan, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That book takes direct aim at this. It criticizes how financial risk models, like those used by portfolio managers, often define risk in a way that completely excludes the possibility of black swans.
Those rare, unpredictable, massive impact events.
Exactly. Because they haven't happened frequently, they aren't easily available to the model's or the manager's intuition. So the author argues these risk measures end up having no better predictive value than astrology.
Ouch. So it's the availability heuristic in action on a huge scale. We focus on the common risks we can easily recall or model.
And remain completely blind to the rare game-changing events that don't fit the pattern. We prepare for the familiar, not the truly consequential.
Yeah, he calls this problem endemic in social matters. It's like our existing theories and the information readily available to us create blinders. We literally can't see truly novel or extreme risks because they don't fit our mental framework. They just don't come to mind easily.
We're trapped by what we already know or think we know. Exactly. Which leaves us incredibly vulnerable to the unexpected.
Businesses and, well, savvy individuals can really leverage this heuristic, though. Think about Elon Musk again with Zip2.
The mini supercomputer trick.
Right. The book Elon Musk describes him putting a standard PC in this huge custom case on wheels. Just to make it look like Zip2 ran on some advanced hardware. It created this powerful, vivid image for investors.
Totally. They weren't seeing a PC. They were seeing this impressive machine. That image, easily recalled, probably influenced them much more than the spec sheet would have. He played on availability.
He knew the power of a good visual anchor.
And think about the media coverage he got later with Tesla and SpaceX. The press gave him huge leeway, right?
Yeah, the book said they tracked his every move, breathless in their coverage.
Because the game he talked was so much bigger than anyone else's.
Yeah.
That narrative, the playboy, part space cowboy talking this huge game, was incredibly compelling and available.
It made his ventures seem more important, maybe more successful than they were at the time.
Exactly. Even when things were delayed or struggling, that powerful, exciting story was readily available in people's minds. It often overrode critical evaluation. The story itself became the available fact.
And sometimes this availability thing is much more subtle, like that anecdote in Business Adventures about the GE executive Frank Stalick.
Right, the impacts.
Yeah, he guided his actions not just by official company rules, but by these gut feelings, these impacts, things he noticed.
Like seeing his boss having lunch with a competitor.
Exactly. That had a heavy impact on him. Even though policy hadn't changed, that single vivid event made him think the company's anti-collusion stance was weakening.
It's a perfect example. System 1 jumps to a conclusion based on one salient, easily recalled piece of information, that visual of the lunch.
Instead of, System 2 checking the actual policy or asking questions.
Right? His judgment got skewed by the sheer availability and vividness of that one moment. Shows how easily our perception gets shaped by what just pops into our heads. Okay, let's peel back one more layer. We've talked about loss aversion, availability. Now let's look at how our brains get stuck on initial information. The anchoring effect.
Anchoring, right.
Now, Kahneman's work is foundational here, but our sources might not have a specific experiment named exactly that. But the concept is clear. That first piece of information we get, it heavily, sometimes ridiculously, influences our later judgments.
Even if it's totally random.
Sometimes, yeah. It raises a big question for you listening. How often does that first number you hear, or that first impression you get, unconsciously anchor your thinking? How much does it restrict where your thoughts go next?
It's kind of insidious, isn't it? Because it feels so simple. That first piece of info, arbitrary or not, sets a mental benchmark, an anchor.
Exactly. System 1 just grabs onto it, and System 2 tries to adjust away from it.
It doesn't adjust enough.
Often, no. It's like you're mentally tethered to that starting point, even if, intellectually it's not right. It subtly limits the range of your final judgment or decision.
And this has huge implications in finance, right?
Yeah.
Valuations.
Oh, massive. Business Adventures has that great line about the stock market.
Yeah.
The silly and almost childlike basis upon which grown men decide that a stock should be bought, and at what price.
Yeah. Sounds like anchoring.
It really does. Instead of a deep dive into fundamentals, people get anchored on the current price, or the price it used to be, or some analyst's initial target price.
And that anchor just pulls their judgment.
Yeah, it becomes this undue reference point. It can lead to Bubble's irrational exuberance based on a high anchor, or make people miss bargains because a stock fell from a previous, maybe arbitrary high anchor.
And in negotiations, liar's poker territory again.
Definitely. Anchoring is a classic negotiation tactic. The book talks about traders exploiting customer weakness.
Oh.
Well, one way is setting a really low initial offer, a low anchor, when dealing with those desperate sellers.
Like the savings and loan guys needing to dump junk bonds.
Exactly. They arrive hat in hand, already feeling weak. The trader throws out a lowball number. That number immediately frames the negotiation. It pulls the seller's expectations way down.
So the seller is less likely to push back hard?
Right. They're anchored by that initial low figure, and they might end up agreeing to a price much lower than they could have gotten otherwise.
Powerful stuff. And then there's strategic anchoring, like with Robert Moses and the power broker.
Oh, Moses was a master. Absolutely masterful. He bring these huge projects to the Board of Estimate, completely wrapped up.
Me.
Site chosen, designs done, sponsors lined up, financing sorted, everything basically locked in. By the time the board officially saw it, it was presented as, quote, ready to go, in fact, except for their okay.
That's a powerful anchor. It's presented as a done deal.
Exactly. It made it almost impossible for the board to seriously question it, let alone reject or significantly change it. The sheer completeness anchored the whole discussion around yes or no to his plan, not what's the best plan.
He controlled the starting point entirely.
And he used negative anchors, too, through publicity. Like when he wanted to discipline Governor Harriman.
What did he do?
He just started calling him a dirty politician in the press. Simple, blunt,
Ouch.
but incredibly effective. That label stuck. It became an anchor that shaped public perception. It made opponents hesitant to even engage with Moses because they'd be debating someone already framed negatively.
So the anchor wasn't a number, but a powerful negative label that framed everything after.
Precisely. It controlled the narrative, limited opposition, just by setting that initial negative tone.
Even someone like Jeff Bezos, you see hints of this. The Everything Store mentions his focus on lots of small advantages.
Right. The rope of many small advantages.
But he still fiercely defended that one-click patent, didn't he?
He did. Vigorously. Now, you could argue its real value, but...
But its initial success, how well-known it became.
Exactly. That likely acted as a powerful anchor. Both for customers, it anchored the idea of Amazon's convenience, and maybe internally too. Its early recognition anchored its perceived importance, leading them to defend it so strongly against rivals like Barnes and Noble. It became the symbolic anchor of their innovation, perhaps beyond its pure functional value.
Okay, so we've covered loss aversion, availability, anchoring. What's really striking, maybe even a bit depressing, is how persistent these things are.
Yeah, you've really hit on a crucial takeaway there. It's humbling.
It's not like you just learn about them and poof, you're immune.
Not at all. That's one of the key findings from Kahneman and Tversky, and it's echoed strongly in The Black Swan. These biases fail to disappear with expertise and training.
Even the sophisticated researchers we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Even people whose whole job is careful thought, they're still susceptible. Simply knowing about bias isn't a magic bullet. System 1 is powerful, deeply wired, and often operates totally under the radar. Counteracting it takes constant conscious effort.
And there's another layer to this persistence, right? Confirmation bias. The Black Swan mentions how we process information differently depending on whether we agree with it.
Right. It says preference-consistent information is taken at face value.
Meaning, stuff we already agree with, we just accept it.
Exactly. While preference-inconsistent information is processed critically, stuff that challenges our beliefs, we suddenly become skeptical, we scrutinize it, look for flaws.
That's classic confirmation bias.
It is. And it's a powerful reinforcing loop. It makes sure our existing System 1 beliefs, our gut feelings, our established views mostly stay unchallenged. Unless System 2 puts in real, sustained effort to deliberately seek out opposing views or disconfirming evidence.
Our brains are built to confirm, not question themselves.
Pretty much. It takes effort to override that default setting.
So this brings us to a really practical point for everyone listening. If these biases are so deep and persistent, what can you actually do about them? How do you fight back?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Managing oneself offers some really profound advice here. It talks about needing to discover where your intellectual arrogance is causing disabling ignorance and overcome it.
Intellectual arrogance causing disabling ignorance. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just about learning new skills. It's about deep self-awareness. It's about truly acknowledging, humbly, that yes, you are susceptible to these biases, no matter how smart or experienced you are, and then actively looking for your own blind spots.
Instead of assuming you don't have any.
Right. It requires constant, honest self-reflection, always asking, okay, what might my biases be whispering in my ear right now? What might I be missing?
Think about the Edsel disaster from Business Adventures. Ford totally misread why customers were choosing competitors over their own Mercury cars.
Right. They weren't just wrong. They seemed stuck in a systemic bias, trapped by their internal assumptions about what customers should want, instead of looking objectively at what customers were actually doing.
So how could they have mitigated that?
Well, maybe through more structured, critical analysis, really digging into the why behind customer behavior, maybe bringing in outside views to challenge those internal assumptions, or using techniques like a pre-mortem.
Pre-mortem?
Yeah, where you imagine the project has already failed spectacularly, and then you work backward to figure out all the reasons why it failed. It forces you to confront potential flaws and biases up front.
It forces System 2 to rigorously challenge System 1's easy conclusions.
Exactly. It's about building processes that encourage that critical scrutiny.
So ultimately, understanding these biases, it gives us a superpower almost, the ability to pause.
Precisely. The ability to hit pause, question that first gut reaction, and consciously bring in our slower, more analytical System 2.
It's not about eliminating intuition, but knowing when to trust it and when to challenge it.
Absolutely. It's about building that intellectual framework the intelligent investor talks about, and then crucially, having the discipline to use it, especially when emotions or biases are pulling you off course. It's about being aware of System 1's shortcuts and deliberately choosing a more effortful, analytical path when the stakes are high. It's a skill, a muscle you have to keep exercising, designing your thinking, not just reacting.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today, a really deep dive into these cognitive biases, loss aversion, making us fear loss so much, availability guiding us by memorable stories, anchoring, tying us to initial numbers. It's just, well, it's incredibly clear our minds have these powerful, predictable shortcuts.
They really do. And what's so fascinating, maybe even the core takeaway, is that just knowing about them isn't enough. Awareness is just step one.
Right, because they persist even in experts.
Exactly. Which underscores that fighting bias requires continuous, conscious effort. It's a lifelong practice of critical thinking, always questioning assumptions, actively seeking out different perspectives that challenge your own.
And deliberately engaging that slower, more effortful system 2 thinking.
Precisely. Not just letting System 1 run the show on autopilot. It's about cultivating that emotional discipline and challenging our own potential intellectual arrogance, as those other sources put it so well.
So here's the final thought for you. As you go about your day, making choices big and small, whether it's at work, managing finances, or just deciding what news to believe, ask yourself this. What unconscious bias might be subtly pulling my strings right now?
Good question.
And then ask,
Oh.
what deliberate step can I take right now to engage my slower, more analytical mind and give that intuition a critical look? Because understanding these hidden forces, it isn't just about better business or better finances. It's about better understanding yourself, the very mechanics of your own mind, and ultimately making clearer, more effective choices in, well, everything you do.